that shaped a life. This is My Planet Rock.
Hello, this is Liz Barnes, and welcome to My Planet Rocks. You just heard Airbourne, a rather large clue as to who is my guest on the show this week. Hailing, of course, from the land down under, sitting still for once. Please welcome frontman Joel.
G'day, how you going? Thanks for having me.
And drummer Ryan.
How you doing? It's good to be here.
And you're both O'Keeffes. That is not a coincidence, you're brothers.
That's correct.
Well, for the next hour, everybody who knows My Planet Rocks will know that what we do is hand over the playlist to you. But first up, I just wanted to know a little bit of background about the O'Keeffe family. Were you a rock and roll family? Were you brought up with, massive speakers and a good set of vinyl?
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of, basically, yeah. In a way, we were brought up that way. Our uncle had a big record collection, and he'd moved to Sydney, and he left it all down in Port Fairy, which is where our grandmother lived, because that would be his mother. So the brother thing. Just clearing that up. So basically, we would go there and pinch all his records, and he would have Black Sabbath, he would have Led Zeppelin, ZZ Top, AC/DC, Status Quo. Jimi Hendrix, and so we had a very many Rolling Stones. He had everything. We had a real good education of rock and roll thanks to his vinyl. And we at the back room we had Mum and Dad's old vinyl player, and we stacked up all the speakers, and we used to just rock them and just listen to them. And basically, we didn't listen to the music that was of the 90s at the time. We basically just skipped it and just played vinyl records. So yeah, we did have that growing up, and at a very, very young age. And the first thing I ever saw on TV was the Thunderstruck video, and that really did change my life. All I wanted to say to Mum, I was like maybe about 6 years old. I think I said, "Can I have a blue singlet like the singer and a guitar like the guitar player?" And yeah, I want the album too on cassette.
On cassette, of course.
Yeah.
On cassette. Much easier for little hands.
Yeah, little hands to put in the thing.
Well, I think that leads us very well into your first choice, Joel. What are you going to play for us?
Well, I'm going to play Thunderstruck.
And you're wearing a blue singlet?
And I'm wearing my blue singlet, probably the same one. I love this song, and I love the video for it, and the song. It's just really. I love the way it kicks in. I love the chanting at the start. This song never gets old. It always pumps me up, and I know it's going to pump everybody out there up too. So crank it up.
Thunderstruck by who else but AC/DC. My guests this week on My Planet Rocks are Joel and Ryan O'Keeffe from Airbourne. Now that we've established that you guys managed to get yourselves together with drums and guitar. Mm-hmm. How did all that become an actual band? Because there's a big difference between dreams and making it happen.
Well, when we were in Warrnambool, found the other guys. Joel was working at the pub with Rhodesy, and so he came in, and then I met Streety at a few parties and sort of got talking with him, and he said he wanted to play bass in a band. So we got the guys together, and then during those long hours of when we were staying up late talking about the band and that when we were kids, it's in school nights and that. One of the things was, what bands used to do is move to a house together. So we knew that was like a rite of passage. That was the first thing we had to do. So we organised in the last sort of years of school to go to Melbourne and start and all live in a house together, go on the dole and make it happen. And there was never a plan B. And
there was never a plan B. We set up a stage in our house in Melbourne, and we would practice our show to the point where because I would do a solo on the bar and the pub, so I'd actually so the stage was set up in the lounge room, and the kitchen was out here, a separate room. So I'd literally, at the point where I did the solo, run out into the kitchen and jump on the kitchen bench and just do a solo and grab a beer from the fridge and then run back. But we practiced our show right down to everything, and then so when we did our first few shows in Melbourne, it really hit them hard, and people would talk a lot. And we were the only band going around Melbourne with full-on Marshall stacks, as much as we could get into these small little pubs. And word spread pretty quick. There's this boys in from the country, and they're taking no holds barred, like no mercy. This live show, and it's loud as hell, and they've got all these marshals. So it got people talking, and that's it. We sort of started from there basically, and then we would drive up to Sydney in an old van, and Mitsubishi would break down in Holbrook, this town, always break down. The fan belt would fly off, and and all these sorts of things would happen. But then we always said the first day, even in the cabin practicing, we've got to move to Europe, we've got to get to the UK, we've got to do what AC/DC did by leaving Australia. We've got to do what Midnight Oil did. They left Australia in excess. They left Australia. Yeah, you got to do it. And it was always from day one was just to get over here and do rock and roll here.
Well, I think that's a pretty good point for the first track from Ryan. What have you picked and why?
Screaming for Vengeance.
Yeah.
It's a rocker, and I remember it's one of the sort of first albums I ever bought was Judas Priest, Scream for Vengeance, the big massive yellow cover, which is which is different. So
I remember it got run over in the driveway once. And the cover got smashed, and the CD was in there, and it survived. I remember because I remember going, "Oh no, the Judas Priest Scream for Vengeance CD's got run over," and then I remember going, "Oh no," but the book was intact. The jewel case was destroyed, but the CD survived because I put it in, and what came on was the Hellion, and then into Screaming for Vengeance, and then it was just like yes, Screaming for Vengeance is still screaming,
can survive even being run over. This is Judas Priest as chosen by Ryan O'Keefe and Screaming for Vengeance. Judas Priest, as chosen by Ryan O'Keefe, one of the brothers from Airbourne. Joel and Ryan, my guests on My Planet Rocks this week. So, speaking of the brothers thing, I'm sure people ask you this all the time, but, I'm going to ask you anyway. Brothers in rock aren't always a good thing?
Well, I mean, sometimes it can be a good thing or it can be a bad, like a friction thing.
Sometimes it's a good thing, but maybe not for your relationship. How do you guys deal with it?
Well, since we've been kids, like in bunk beds, talking about wanting to be in a band and wanting to do this, I think that's kind of. It doesn't actually bother us that we're brothers and we're in a band and we do this because we talk about the same things we were talking about in the bunks way back then. And even when we had, and then Mum and Dad, we had, I don't know if we moved house or whatever, but we had separate bedrooms. We got walkie-talkies and used to talk through the wall at night.
Oh, that's right.
Remember that? We always used to have our walkie-talkies. Yeah. And we used to talk about so what we're going to do is what if we do if we just put out we buy a van and then and we had all these plans. We used to really, and then when management has decisions and the labels making decisions that everything goes through me and Ryan. We both have to approve something. Because we are really just a two-headed beast.
Yeah. Do you fight?
Yeah, we do.
Verbally, mainly.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wasn't really meaning to smack each other in the face.
Nah, just verbal fights.
We've got to do gigs, and if one of us breaks our wrist or our hands or breaks a cheekbone or something, the show gets cancelled. It's kind of so we just keep it verbal.
Yeah. But I mean, you seem as though you seem two halves of the same whole anyway. So, but and I mean, I think it's the press make a lot of things about brothers in bands as well. With certainly with like the Brothers in the Black Crows or I think it's maybe much more interesting if you're in this if they can say that you don't get along, rather than two brothers who actually work together well.
Well, I mean, we've pushed each other through windows, and we've rolled around on on pushed through couches and we've gone through walls before.
Oh my God.
Stuff. I mean, we do that, but
that was a lot in the early days.
Yeah,
these days we've got to.
The schedules and that are so.
If you've got
tight.
time to fight, then you've actually got too much time on your hands.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of time on our hands. Yeah. We just basically have these really quick arguments. I could give you. I have one on my phone, but there's too much swearing in it. You would not be able to air it.
And you wouldn't be able to bleep it.
A legitimate argument was caught on a phone, and it was basically in a lift. We had this argument in a lift in the morning where there's two Frenchmen just got in a lift, and me and Ryan, for something to set us off, we just exploded into each other, and they were just looking at us in shock.
Poor blokes.
Well,
Yeah.
hopefully it doesn't happen too often. Joel, let's take another track from you.
Yep.
What else have you picked?
Oh, let's go. I Love It Loud by Kiss. I think it's just a great loud rock and roll song, and I love it loud, and I agree with them.
Well, there you go. Perfect reason to play it. Kiss on Planet Rock. You're listening to My Planet Rocks on Planet Rock with our guests this week, Joel and Ryan O'Keefe from Airbourne. After the break, we'll hear more of their track choices and also a little bit more about the band's memorable appearance at the Download Festival a few years ago.
First, there was rock. Then there was mortgage. Then there were the kids. Now, there is rock again. Welcome home. Planet Rock, where rock lives.
You're listening to My Planet Rocks with Joel and Ryan from Airbourne. We were talking, said that we were going to talk about the new album. But first of all, your first album, Running Wild, that was an incredible album that just exploded out of nowhere. I think because there weren't really any new bands around that sounded like you at the time. There are a lot of, much heavier bands sort of like going towards the kind of hardcore side of things, but not, that kind of much more fast-paced melodic style.
Yeah.
Did you intentionally sound like that, or did it just come out?
It's just come out.
It
pretty
just,
much.
just come
From
out.
live gigs.
Just live gigs, and yeah, pretty much. We didn't really change much of the songs when we got in the studio. They were all just as they were.
Because how much time was there between that and No Guts, No Glory, the second album?
Well, we toured for about almost 2 years, and then we quickly did No Guts, and then went back on the road.
But I remember that they seemed fairly close together, which is a good thing, because you never. What I'm getting at is you never kind of went away, which was a good thing. Certainly, like you said, for building up, support, and like you're playing Download again this year.
Yeah.
And I saw you at Download the year it rained, because you were up the lighting rig and they switched the power off.
Yeah.
Does that happen a lot? Did they switch you off?
Oh. No, that's the first time that sort of thing really happened, where it was pretty major, and there was a big war going on behind the marshals between our management, the label, the stage manager, health and safety, and everyone was there all screaming at each other. One, obviously, side was saying to turn the power on, the other side saying, we are not going to do that because he is insane. The singer's insane, and he's going to kill himself or kill someone else.
Yeah.
And our manager quickly pointed out the fact that the crowd barrier was beginning to bend and buckle, because the crowd was literally, they were coming through. Like, there was 40,000 people, and they'd been standing out there in the rain, and someone just turned the PA off.
Yeah. And the management,
they're not happy.
The way it got resolved is management basically said to security, you're inciting a riot.
You are inciting a riot, it's on your head now. And then they went, okay, and then they put the PA back on, and I remember running out. Just as I ran out, they actually turned the lights off and everything. Just as I ran out, it was a great rock and roll moment. As I got to the mic, the PA lights, everything went on, and I remember saying, we play rock and roll for real people, you're real people, and we love you, or something like that. And then I said, I can't swear, so the law. I said, and that's what we did, and then the whole thing just and the PA, everything came on, and it was just, the crowd went mental. It was a great time, and I remember that going, okay, that was good, and then we had to go see the police afterwards. And
did you have to say sorry?
Yeah, we had to go down and manage that and see the police.
They wanted to arrest.
They wanted to take our, they wanted to get us out of the country. They wanted to deport us on the day. And all these sorts of things. They sort of said, look, this is a warning, but we can do all this. So you really need to understand that you can't do this anymore, or you will be deported. And he said, do you understand? Does everybody understand? I said, yeah, mate, no worries, mate, all good, mate. And then he goes, right, I've got 2 young boys at home that love your band. I've got 2 CDs here. Can you actually just...
Wow. I had there with me standing out the front in my cagoule with my beer. I had no idea it got so exciting.
It went crazy back there. I wish it had been filmed, because it's a great story.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan, let's take another of your tracks. What can we play for you this time, and why?
We could do Bark of the Moon. As a track, I built a little bar in the backyard when I was about 16. Used to have all the underage kids around our house. There's almost like 300 people there, still drunk, and the cops would come around and go, well, unless we know where everyone is. And I don't know, like I just loved playing. Bark at the Moon was almost like a soundtrack of that era of illegal drinking in our backyard.
Ozzy Osbourne's Bark at the Moon. This is My Planet Rocks, and my guest this week, Joel and Ryan O'Keefe from Airbourne. We've done a lot of talking about how you guys got to where you are now. And Ryan, I wanted to ask you first, and Joel, I'll ask you in a minute.
Yeah.
Was there anyone or any band that you particularly looked at when you were doing all this legwork to get good? You know, was there anyone you thought, I want to be like him, I want to be like that band, I want to make it as, I want to make it like they have? Was there anyone that you particularly looked at and took a bit of inspiration from?
Well, I think, the general pub scene of Australia at the time was something we drew inspired to, because you had to really prove yourself on that scene. And that was something we'd learned from watching our bands grow up in the Australian scene. And AC/DC is obviously one of those bands who made it through, cracked it through, and went to the world.
In terms of you sort of taking inspiration from people, Joel, did you ever look at someone and thought, I want to be a frontman like him?
Oh, absolutely. I looked. I remember there's a guy in Australia called Billy Thorpe. I'm not sure if anyone really knows too much about him, but he was very big in Australia. Billy Thorpe and the Aztecs was the band. He's a guitar player, singer, and I remember he was one of the guys that really started Aussie pub rock. And Angry Anderson from Rose Tattoo. And also Bon Scott, they all admired Billy Thorpe, and he was just an absolute classic rock and roller. He's the guy. He would be like our Keith Richards or Lemmy. Takes all the drugs in the world and no holds barred. It was always one of the most energetic and insane shows to watch as a Billy Thorpe as a frontman, and I always looked up to Billy Thorpe, and of course I looked up to Bon Scott, and I looked up to Angry Anderson and another Australian singer, Jimmy Barnes, and as they just all had this wild charisma about them that you never knew what they were going to do next, and they would look at everybody in the crowd, they always had that thing, and that's kind of what I looked at. And in terms of guitar players, I looked at I love Hendrix and Keith Richards and Angus Young and then Chuck Berry, and yeah.
If we could play a track from you, from someone who particularly inspired you, who would you pick? What would you pick?
Well, I mean, it's sort of hard to say. Look, I would like to. I'll play a Billy Thorpe song.
All right.
And the Aztecs. It's most people I know think I'm crazy.
Okay. Well, let's play a bit of Billy Thorpe and the Aztecs then.
Yeah.
AC/DC's Down Payment Blues on Planet Rock. My guests this week, Joel and Ryan O'Keefe. I realise I've said that the same way around, so I'm going to say Ryan and Joel O'Keefe from Airbourne on Planet Rock. Now then, we haven't said anything about the new album yet, but it is called Black Dog Barking.
Yep.
It's your third album,
Yep.
and I presume you had to take quite a bit of time off and to put it all together. Tell me the story.
Well, we finished up touring mid-2011 and basically started working on it. During that time, we lost a lot of friends at Roadrunner.
Yeah, because Roadrunner had the big change.
The big merger.
The big merger with Warner's and Atlantic.
So that delayed things a little bit.
That did.
It was good for us to get a little bit more time to work on the songs anyways.
Yeah.
And we put everything in this album. This is definitive of Airbourne.
It's very definitive of Airbourne. It's 35 minutes. It's only 35 minutes long, this album, but it definitely took a few years off, I think, mine and Ryan's
off our lives.
We worked straight through Christmas like it didn't even happen, and New Year's Eve, and the end of the world 2012 was supposed to happen. Well, we wouldn't have known about it because
we were tracking.
We'd never got so deep into an album before, and working with Brian Howes as a producer. We let Brian in, very much the same way Metallica let Bob Rock in for the Black Album, because I think when you work with a producer, you've really got to let them in. In the past, we probably hadn't let them in as much as we probably should have, but they were different relationships and different times, and this was us going, Brian, you could practice. You are one of us. Come inside. Let's really do this. So then, having his drive and our drive, we got so into this thing, and we put everything into it. And the reason why it's called Black Dog Barking, because we've always had our own black dog, very much the same way Winston Churchill did. He's up against the whole, up against the wall. He's cut off from the whole England's cut off from everybody. They've got to stand on their own 2 feet. The
Outnumbered.
nation was a little, had to really bring everybody together. And it's like, we take that sort of thing, we go, they're kind of like us, we're coming from Australia, we believe in rock and roll, everyone is saying, you're not going to make it, you're not going to make any money, and rock and roll, why would you want to play that and cut your hair, get a real job, all that sort of stuff, and like...
People still say that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, not anymore, but, I mean, like, so we've always had that there, too. It's like, when we ever want inspiration, one of the things Churchill said was, if you're going through hell, keep going.
Yeah, do you know, I really like that as well. If you're having a really... Yeah, exactly. If it's not so good, there's no point stopping there.
Exactly.
Might as well carry on.
Exactly.
I think a good way to finish...
Yep.
will be for the two of you to agree upon a track that we can play
Okay, yep.
from the new album.
Yep.
What's it going to be?
We'll play the first track.
Ready to rock.
Ready to rock.
This has been around for 10 years, this track.
We used to sell this EP at gigs, and basically, Ready to Rock, and look out, England, get ready to rock, we're coming.
Yeah, we're coming.
Well, Airbourne, Joel and Ryan O'Keefe, or Ryan and Joel O'Keefe, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to see you live again. Thank you very much indeed.
Cheers, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.